Happy Mother's Day, all you quality of lifers out there. I know a lot of you who follow this page and who actually follow me in music or narration or whatever. You know that one of the niche groups that I work with are adult children of alcoholics. And so this video is going out to daughters as well as mothers in that ACOA or trauma dysfunction in that world, because motherhood is so important. And for all of the professional women out there who value their jobs and who might look down on folks who are just mothers, I can tell you this: there is no greater responsibility on earth than what you perpetuate as a mother. You are creating people, mindsets that are going to raise children with those mindsets. You are responsible for generations to come and how people interact with each other. I know dads are responsible too, but it's a heavy weight as a mother to be responsible for a human being and how that human being is going to grow up and be part of this world. So I want to talk about some things, motherhood, and the struggle that I've had over the years that I didn't even realize that I had. I talked a little bit about a couple of years ago. I joked that I kind of had this nervous breakdown thing. I don't know that it was technically a nervous breakdown or anything like that, but I did become so aware of how my childhood did impact who I have become today. And I almost feel like sometimes today that I almost wish that had never happened, because back then, I just went on with life and did my thing and didn't really have to pay attention to every minute of the day. And being a conscious person and having to be self-aware and pay attention to how you're feeling and how you're reacting to all these things, it's tiresome. It's extremely exhausting. But when I was journaling early on, after going through that, there was an exercise that I read about that says, pretend that you are an 8-year-old child and that you are in a situation where your parents can't say anything snarky back to you, or they can't hurt you in any way, and be that 8-year-old child and have a conversation with your parents. Do that individually. And so here I am sitting here at my typewriter, and I really expected that I was going to blister my dad, because my dad was the alcoholic, right? Because he was the violent one. He was the one that made all of our lives hell, right? So I really expected that conversation was not going to be pretty. But what was funny, what so surprised me, because I love my mom. I am so protective of my mom. I have no animosity today toward my mother at all. But man, I roasted her ass in this exercise, and I'm like, wow, did I really feel that way? And I think as an 8-year-old, I allowed myself to feel that way. My conversation with my dad was more like, I wish you had stopped drinking. I wish that we had mattered enough for you to be able to quit. And I wish that you could have been everything that you had the potential to be. But with my mom, the conversation was more like, you should have protected us. I know you loved him, but as a mom, it's your responsibility to not put your kids through that. That a man is not more important than your kids, and that you should never have stayed. And that was the conversation. And it surprised me, because I always in my mind, my mom is the strongest woman that I know, that she's made it through so much. And, she has been a big factor in the person that I am today. And I'm, like I said, this is a conversation of an 8-year-old, from an 8-year-old's perspective, where they don't understand the grown-up things, right? And I know that my mom did the best she could, because I know what her life was like before and how she grew up. And that's why it's so important as mothers that we understand this. And because I ended up with a lot of broken logic that I am slowly having to dismantle, because what I saw was my mom so obsessively in love with a man that she let it destroy her, and she let it destroy us as a family. So I had this logic in my brain that when you really love someone, that they have the power and the control to make your life hell. Never love someone that much. Never ever allow yourself to love someone that much. And never ever be vulnerable and look to a man to provide you with anything. Be the independent one. Always be able to walk away. Always be independent enough to have independent money. And, don't love like that. Don't have that passionate love, because you will make concessions. You will not be able to do anything but live for that man. So just be aware as mothers, what messages that you are programming in your children's minds. I work with a lot of people. I work with moms. I work with daughters who have some of the similar things that I dealt with. But I think there is a mindset too with some women that a bad dad is better than no dad. I had a conversation that went, and I worked with groups too, and there was a discussion about this young girl. She's got 2 boys with a young man, and he won't work, but she's kind of got it in her head that she grew up without a daddy, and she doesn't want her kids to grow up without a daddy. But I challenged her, and it's not that I'm pushing her out of her relationship. I mean, that's her decision. Ultimately, I'm never going to do that. The questions that I ask is, here is this man who you can't have a phone without him going through your text messages all the time. And she's like, well, I don't have anything to hide. Still, it's bullshit, girl. If a man trusts and respects you, he's not going to be looking through your phone. He's not going to be checking your Facebook messages and going on Facebook and posting messages as you and trying to alienate you from your family. And, all of these things that this guy was doing. And this is what her little boys are going to see. This is what her young boys are going to see on how you treat women. How you let a man treat you is going to be either how your daughter is going to expect men to treat her in the future, or how boys are going to think that they can treat women in the future. You have to see that. You have to know that. And as a mother, men are supposed to be good daddies, but I guess that's why I felt so hard at my mom, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my screwed up mindset, but I feel like as mothers we should protect our kids. And they should come first. When you have kids, then the kids are the priority then. And you have to let go of your insecurities of hanging on to someone because you don't feel like you can do any better, or that it's too hard to walk away, you don't know how you're going to do it on your own, you know, all those things. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Being a mom is hard. That's why I have so much respect for all the mothers out there. It's not easy. And, you know, I personally put off motherhood. And as ACOAs, I know we have this conversation in our heads. You know, I don't want to be responsible for screwing up another life. I have no blueprint to be a parent. I don't know how in the hell to do this. You know, it's, I don't, and I struggle with that in every day of my life. Every day. I was 32, 33. I just turned 33, I think, when Parker was born. And I also, when I went to the ultrasound, had my ultrasound when I found out he was a boy, you know, I was sitting there laying, and she's like, oh, here's the little boy parts. And I'm like, oh no. And it's not that I didn't want a little boy, but that was one of my fears too, is, you know, all the boys in my family are alcoholics and abusive, and I'm like, you know, am I going to be raising another one of them? So I feel like I almost have a even harder job, because I know what's possible in this family with boys, especially boys, but I've seen it done well because my sister-in-law and my nephew is a wonderful young man, and I know it can be done. And I know that my sister-in-law, Donna, is an amazing woman. And my brother was an abusive alcoholic, and she got out. She was smart, and she had the foundation to raise solid young men. And so I'm challenging the women out there who are in relationships with men like that to really ask yourself some tough questions, you know, and know that being a mother is the hardest thing in the world. And lonely. It's extremely lonely sometimes, because you feel like you're doing it all alone, and there's no owner's manual when those babies come out, right? And they're all different, and you're different. And so mothers, daughters who today are reluctant to go talk to their moms because they feel hard at them, because maybe their moms were the alcoholics, or maybe their moms didn't care, couldn't show affection, couldn't show love. It's a hard day. It's a hard day for ACOAs and Mother's and Father's Days, and having the family that you've had, and the feelings of loyalty and guilt that go hand in hand on days like today. It's hard, folks. I know it's hard. But, you know, I love my mom. I think she's an amazing woman. Could she make better choices? Absolutely. But hell, can't we all? You know, she holds guilt about not being able to do the things that she feels like now that she sees, choices that she should have made or whatever, and she still beats herself up over that. And I told her, I was like, you know, don't do that. You know, I love you, and, you know, I am the person I am today because of you. And I wrote a song about her called Like Her on a Carbon Blue record many years ago. And I feel like that song needs to be redone. I will redo that song for her, because, you know, sometimes she's hard on herself, but she taught me a lot of things. You know, she taught me a lot of things indirectly that I'm kind of having to deconstruct now, because I am a very independent, strong-minded person, which is not a bad thing, but I didn't get the soft side as much as I should have. I came outside because the dogs were barking, and now I have this beautiful bird out here singing along. So anyway, I don't want to keep much of your time today, but, you know, make sure that you are taking advantage of family while they're here, because one, they won't be forever. I've lost so much of my family, and I'm blessed to still have my mother. And, if you are a mother and you're having to make these hard decisions, or you're having to do things on your own, kudos to you. Happy Mother's Day to you, because this is the hardest job in the world, and sometimes the most thankless job in the world. But forgive yourself for all the times that you feel like you're just screwing up, because, none of us are perfect, and we're all doing the best we can. But, I would also say, do ask yourself those questions. If you feel like you don't know something, get support. Look for others to help, and don't always just try to do everything on your own. It's hard. It's hard because, let's face it, as ACOAs, we don't have the tools we need, so we have to work really hard to get those. Happy Mother's Day, and I hope you all have an amazing one. Much love.